Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here for this press conference of Marylanders for Police Accountability Reform. My name is Ryan Dennis, and I'm representing the Maryland State Conference of Branches of the NAACP. First, I'd like to thank our bill sponsors for their leadership on this crucial issue. To all the victims, loved ones, and complainants, I'd like to thank you for your courage and perseverance, and all the advocates and concerned citizens across this state. I'd like to say this is our time to make our voices heard if we want change. Lastly, I'll say we're not here to pick on cops. We're here to pick on bad cops. The overwhelming majority of police will never be affected by the changes we see because they are geared towards bad cops. And we are not trying to take away any protection or privilege of police officers. These bills simply adjust the procedures and remove some of the barriers for holding police accountable. So we'll open this press conference with some victim family members who had lost loved ones to police in the state of Maryland. First, we will have Marion Gray Hopkins, who's the mother of Gary Hopkins, and we'll have Chris Brown, the mother of Christopher Brown. Oh, do everyone? Okay, and let us introduce our legislative champions. Delegate Jill Carter, Delegate Kurt Anderson, Delegate Morales, Delegate Washington, Delegate Moon, Delegate Smith, and staff from Senator Victor Ramirez's office. Thank you, and I'll bring Marion Gray Hopkins up.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Marion Gray Hopkins. I'm the mother of 19-year-old Gary Hopkins Jr. that was killed by police brutality November 27th, 1999. So I'm here today not only for my son and my family, but I'm here on behalf of mothers that are united across the United States of America to say that we're tired. We're saying that enough is enough. We're saying that these bills will hopefully bring about police accountability and somewhat justice to the families that have lost their loved ones. And I'll give more information when we get to the House and give more information about the various bills. But I want to thank you for this opportunity and say I hope that all of you are voting with me and with our delegates that we have here today in support of these bills, and again, that will bring about police accountability and justice for the families that have lost loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll bring up Chris Brown, the mother of Christopher Brown.
Good morning. My name is Chris Brown, the mother of Christopher Brown, 17 years old, murdered by a Baltimore County officer. I'm definitely in support of accountability for officers. We believe that if there was more accountability, then officers would not do some of the crimes that we see committed on a daily basis. And, you know, I just want to thank you guys for coming out and being in support, because we need all the help that we can get to make sure that this does not keep happening every day on our streets. We want the finest in our departments. Thank you.
Do we have any other victim family members?
Good morning. My name is Darlene Kane. I'm the mother of Dale Graham, 29-year-old law student who was shot and killed by Baltimore City Police October 28, 2008. And again, we're here asking for everyone's support because we need you for these votes in the House, because if we can get these police to be accountable for their wrongful acts and behavior, there can be changes in our community as well. And together we all can work together and we can save lives. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next we're going to bring up some of our community leaders to talk about how these issues affect our communities around the state. First we'll have David Magruder from the Maryland Churches for Justice and Equality.
Thank you, Ryan. I think it's appropriate that we are here today on what is the 3rd anniversary of the murder of Trayvon Martin, who was not murdered by a police officer, but instead by racially biased, unfair, unfounded racialized police practices that empower police officers and vigilantes alike to target young black and brown men and women. What we're here today to do, as Ryan has said, is not to attack police officers, but to attack those police practices and to set Maryland on a course for justice. I want to read the story of Archie Elliott III, whose mother, Dorothy Elliott, could not be here today because of the snow. But Archie Elliott III was a 24-year-old killed by 2 police officers in Prince George's County on June 18, 1993. That was my birthday. He was weaving. The police officer said he was weaving, and that's why he was stopped. What should have been a routine traffic stop turned into a homicide, and what became justified because the person who killed Archie Elliott III had a badge and a gun. We got to do better. As a state, we've got to do better for the families of people who have lost loved ones. We've got to do better for people like myself, who when I get in a car, run the risk of not only being stopped because of the color of my skin, but murdered for that very reason. We've got to do better. We're going to do better. And these bills are a first step in making Maryland just for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Next, we'll have Davon Love from the Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle.
Thanks, Ryan. This is a really important day, in our state. The issue of police brutality is something that it's not new. It's made mainstream headlines recently, but it's something that's been a part of our community for decades. And there's just a couple of things that I just want to clear up that I think are important to set the stage for a lot of the conversation that's going to happen around police brutality. When people talk about the issue of institutional racism as a part of the problem with police brutality, we're not talking about individual people's bigotry. We're talking about a society that socializes us to understand black folks as not being human, as not having or being entitled to the very things that any other person is entitled to, right? And a society that has socialized us to attribute criminality to black people. And this is a very important thing to understand, because it doesn't require a person to intentionally want to say, I'm going to go after these black and brown youth. It just requires a person that hasn't surfaced the ways in which they have internalized the very society that teaches us to see black and brown youth as animals. And so the importance of the bills that will be heard today, particularly the amendments to a Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, what it seeks to do is to provide the community the proper mechanisms to organize in order to hold law enforcement accountable. It is to have the residents of the communities most directly affected to not just be spectators of the process of accountability, but to be the participants and in the driver's seat of the mechanisms that hold law enforcement accountable. If law enforcement's job is to serve the community, then the community needs to be in control of the processes by which law enforcement officers are held accountable. And that's all we're asking for. This isn't a legislation that's retribution against police officers. This isn't an anti-law enforcement organizing that we're doing, or anti-law enforcement legislation. This is just merely an attempt to provide a way for the community to substantively be involved in the process. And any fair-minded person, I don't think that there's an argument against the idea that the community is most directly affected. But we've heard the stories of people that have been affected by it. It's important for those who are of and from the communities affected to be a central piece of the process of police accountability, and that's all this is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Davon. Next, we will bring up Miguel de Luna, who's a member of Casa de Maryland, to tell his story.
Buenos días,
Good afternoon.
mi nombre es Miguel de Luna,
My name is Miguel de Luna.
soy ciudadano de Estados Unidos
I am a citizen of the United States,
y soy dueño de un negocio en Baltimore.
and I am a business owner in Baltimore.
Llegando de comprar de mi negocio,
When I was coming from buying things for my business,
la policía me paró en la calle manejando.
the police stopped me while I was driving.
Me dieron 4 tickets,
They gave me 4 tickets,
de los cuales todos no eran válidos.
and none of them were valid.
Mi hermano iba conmigo al lado
My brother was with me in the car.
También le dieron un ticket, era cuando ella es ciudadano, pero cuando esa era residente de aquí, de Estados Unidos.
They gave him a ticket
Y
when he was a resident, and now he's a citizen.
Y le dieron un somo porque no tenía el ID de la ciudad.
And they also gave him a ticket because he didn't have an ID of the city.
Casa Maryland y mi concejal me ayudaron y todos los cargos lo negaron.
Casa de Maryland helped me and consulted me, and all the charges were dropped.
Yo estoy aquí para apoyar la medida para que a otra persona eso no le pase.
I'm here to support so other people like me, things like this won't happen.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miguel. Next, we will hear from civil rights attorney Billy Murphy.
Yeah, Billy Murphy. Thank you. This is a quest for justice. And if there's injustice anywhere, our job is not complete. And unfortunately, the citizens around the country of color do not get justice either when they're in the street, when they're near their homes, when they're shopping, or when they're in the courts. This is a quest for justice that will last until there is no more injustice. And I want to thank everybody who came out today for being straight up, frank, and to the point about why we are here. And so unless there can be justice involving the police, which is among the most important forms of justice there is, no one can feel safe that we will not ourselves be the victims of injustice. And last but not least, I am not proud to say that I have had to train each one of my sons about what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say, where to be and where not to be, to avoid police misconduct, which can ultimately result in their death or serious injury. I'm not proud that in America I have to do that merely because my sons are black. So on behalf of everybody who's here, I applaud you in your persistent quest for justice so that we can become a better society. One last thing, there's another bill. That's the expungement bill, the second chance bill. There are two bills. People who have not been convicted of a crime should not have a record that they were even charged or appeared in court if that record impedes their progress in society, keeps them from getting a job, keeps them from being admitted to college, keeps them from being unstigmatized. And so today we have an opportunity to make sure that everyone who has an encounter with the police that did not result in a conviction gets that encounter expunged automatically. The only thing that should remain in a record that did not result in a conviction is a zero. Only convictions should be remembered. Only convictions are worthy of being remembered. Now, there's a second chance bill that deals with that. If you have had an encounter with the police that did not result in a conviction of crime, you should not be kept from expunging that simply because later on you had an encounter with the police that did result in a conviction of crime. It's enough that you have that. Justice depends on only that being in your record. So on behalf of the business community, of which I'm a part, the legal community, of which I'm a part, the judiciary, of which I was a former part, we must be fair in eliminating these encounters with police, these encounters with the criminal justice system that did not result in convictions from the records of everybody concerned, so that they can become productive citizens and contribute to the fullest extent of their capacity to a productive society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have one more speaker before we get to our elected leaders. Faraji Muhammad.
Thank you, Ryan. Good afternoon. When we're dealing with this issue of police brutality, I think we should be very, very clear about what you're seeing here today as a coalition. We're not coming here in the spirit of benevolence, from looking for benevolence from those who are in the state houses. We're not coming here with our hats in our hands begging for something that should be done based upon right and wrong, based upon justice. We shouldn't have to beg for justice. But we're coming here today to seek truth, or to speak truth, and seeking justice, and to speak truth in a way that everybody understands that not just Black Lives Matter, but most importantly, that the next generation is under attack, and that if we can't decide to make a decision on which way to go, if there's some sort of confusion about who should be doing what, and if there's political gain or money or position that is stopping us from making decisions about justice, as an advocate and as an activist for young people in the next generation, how should I justify talking to them when I'm talking to young Black boys in Randallstown or students in West Baltimore? What's the justification to tell them respect those in authority, those in leadership, those in uniform, when those in uniform have not respected them? There can be no true respect until that is earned. And the police department and the legislators have a responsibility. And the responsibility is based upon one cardinal principle: do unto others what you want them to do unto you. That's justice. So for the families of those who have lost loved ones while in the custody of police, and for those of us who are striving to get over to the lawmakers, this is not a begging session for us. Because at some point, we either have to go on this direction or something else has to happen, because at this point, the cries of a people, of a community, is becoming too loud now, that we can't get across and just doing same old, and expecting different results. The cries are too real right now. And so today, we come here with strength, we come here being united, we come here with power, but most importantly, we come standing on the side of what is right against those who believe what they're continuing to do is right, and we're going to find ourselves to be victorious as long as we stand for truth and justice, which is needed in this whole conversation. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much. So now we'll hear from our legislative leaders, Delegate Carter. And let me just say, I want to thank Delegate Tarlow, Delegate Fennell, Senator Ramirez for joining us, Delegate Barnes. Yes, so thank you all, and Delegate Carter.
Thank you, Ryan, and everyone. One of the greatest human rights violations of our time, the fact that in America, every 28 hours, a Black man, woman, or child, or other person of color is killed at the hands of law enforcement. Often, this is done with impunity, meaning there is no accountability for officers. There is no transparency, so families are left with questions unanswered, unable to recover emotionally, unable to recover financially, and this scourge does not escape Maryland. A recent study shows that in Maryland, every 14 days, a person of color or a person with disabilities is killed at the hands of law enforcement. Maryland took the lead a couple of years ago in ending the death penalty, meaning that for the worst crime, the most heinous crime committed, there is no death sentence here. There should never be a death sentence rendered by an officer on the street with no charge, no prosecution, no conviction. So we're here to change that. The time is now. Protests across this country have shined a spotlight on the dysfunctional relationship between individuals in certain communities and law enforcement. Just as Maryland has taken the lead on so many other progressive things, it's our responsibility to take the lead on this issue, to change it, to fix the problem. Until today, we are very pleased that we are suggesting one of the most responsible law enforcement reforms in the country. Maryland actually gives more rights to law enforcement officers than any other state in the country. And we are here to bring justice to this situation. With that, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I want to thank Delegate Morheim for joining us.
And sponsoring the room.
And sponsoring the room. Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from Senator Ramirez.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning. How's everyone? It's amazing. I'm going to speak about cameras, and we see many cameras around us this morning. And the reason being is because they, a picture's worth 1,000 words, correct? And a camera is worth so much more. We have a bill in now here in the General Assembly that talks about the framework of when the use of body cameras should be worn. We have different departments who are taking up, who have taken the lead of using body cameras. But I think we are one Maryland. We have to have uniformity. We have to have standards. When police officers should turn on their body cameras, the discretion of when they should be off shouldn't be left up to the police officers. And I think that's one of the main things that we have to address is if you're going to wear body cameras, which I think we all would like that, we want to know when you should turn them on. If you're going in someone's houses, you should ask for permission if you don't have a warrant. If you're approaching someone on the street, you should notify them as well. If you're stopping someone, it should be on, and it should be recording what the conversation is. People should be on notice when the body camera is on, and I think that's what we're looking for, to have some accountability. And also, I think that the police officers, it would help the police officers when they're out there as a tool to use, but it also reassures the citizens there's some transparency, there's accountability when the police officers are coming to your house or stopping you while you're in the car, or there's an arrest being made. That's what we're looking for with regards to body cameras. It says if you're going to use it, you've got to follow certain standards. It doesn't matter if you're in Baltimore City or Prince George's County or the Eastern Shore of Western Maryland. Everyone should be held to this standard. So that's, I thank my colleagues and everyone here. I know we're all trying to find, making sure that police officers are doing their job, and we're also trying to help them as well. It's not just us against the police officers. It's a tough job, but there has to be some accountability as well. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We're about out of time, so all our speakers will be available if anybody wants to do any interviews. So just grab them, and thank you all for coming out.